All right, everybody, let me tell you a story. So we're quadrilaterals. We want to go down to the town. So we stop by the Quadrilateral Club and we knock on the front door, and the bouncer answers it and he says, "What do you guys want?" "Well, we want to get into the club." So at any drinking establishment, they have to check your ID. Well, in this quadrilateral world, the only requirement for you to get into this club when the bouncer checks is, well, if you're a quadrilateral, you just need four sides. So when he looks at your ID, he sees you have four sides. Great, we're in. So now we're into the Quadrilateral Club and we start seeing different regions of the club that we might want to get into. So we ask the bartender, "Hey, what are those different areas in the club?" They say, "Well, you got to be special to get in there." We're like, "Well, I think we're special, so let's try to go to those." So let's try to go to Parallelogram Porch first. So we go to Parallelogram Porch. It's roped off. They have a security guard there. We say, "Hey, we want to get in," and he says, "Well, let me see your ID." So when he's checking your ID, he knows you're a quadrilateral. You're already in the club. So you don't have to worry about proving that you have four sides. He already knows you have four sides. But what makes a parallelogram different than all other quadrilaterals? Well, when he checks your ID, he's looking for five things. He needs to see that your opposite sides are both parallel and congruent. He needs to see that your opposite angles are congruent, your consecutive angles are supplementary, and your diagonals bisect each other. When he looks at your ID, if he sees those five things, great, you're into Parallelogram Porch. So now you're on Parallelogram Porch. The drinks are a little bit better, the music's a little bit better, but then you see more roped off areas, more exclusive areas of the club. So you take a look and you walk over to the rectangle room and the rhombus room. Let's try the rectangle room first. Well, again, when you go there, that security guard isn't just going to let you in. He's got to check your ID. So what makes a rectangle different than any other parallelogram and any other quadrilateral? Again, when he's checking your ID, he already knows that you're a quadrilateral. He already knows you're a parallelogram. He doesn't care about those six things you've already established. What he's looking for are the things that make a rectangle different than any other parallelogram. So he's looking for on your ID that all of your angles are right angles, and he's looking that your diagonals are congruent to each other. If you have those qualifications, then you're in the rectangle room. Well, let's say you can't get into the rectangle room, so you try to go to the rhombus room instead. So again, when he checks your ID, you don't need to worry about the six things, the one thing that made a quadrilateral, and the five things that made a parallelogram differentiated from all other quadrilaterals. All you're looking for is with a rhombus, you need four congruent sides, you need the diagonals to be perpendicular to each other, and you need those diagonals to bisect opposite angles. If he sees those things on your ID, then you're in. And then you can see that both the rhombus room and the rectangle room lead to the square VIP sector, the most exclusive part of the club. The square VIP sector, you're looking for all of those characteristics that led you up to that point. A square is both a rectangle and a rhombus. It steals all of those categories, along with stealing the categories of a parallelogram, along with stealing the categories of a quadrilateral to get in the first door. So a square is the most exclusive part of the club. Well, let's say you leave Parallelogram Porch and you look around, you see Kite Corner, you see Trapezoid Terrace. So if you go to Kite Corner, what makes a kite different than all other quadrilaterals? Well, you're looking for two pairs of consecutive sides that are congruent. You're looking for diagonals that are perpendicular. You're looking for the longer diagonal that bisects the shorter diagonal. Those are characteristics that make a kite different than all other quadrilaterals. Those are the things that bouncer's looking for at the door. If you try to get into Trapezoid Terrace, what makes a trapezoid different? Well, it has exactly one pair of parallel sides. If you get in there and you want to get in a more exclusive part of it, which is Isosceles Trapezoid Island, well, then you need your legs to be congruent to each other, and you need your diagonals to be congruent. So those are the things in this club that every time you try to go to a different region of the club, they have to check your ID.